Hello, dear students. Welcome back in our today's lecture number 7. Okay, so far till lecture number 6, mostly in lecture number 5 and 6, we were discussing the topic types of chemical reaction. Now, today we are extending the same topic. We are studying types of chemical reaction, but today we are targeting one another type of chemical reaction, and that reaction which we are going to discuss today is very important because it carries much importance in 10th standard, and it is also important, as we have discussed somewhere in our lecture, for 11th and 12th. So our today's topic, that is topic number, you should note down 1.2.5 as from textbook. In textbook they have given title oxidation and reduction reaction. We are mixing both the words and we are calling it redox reaction. Understand? From oxidation first two word OX, from reduction first three word RED, let us combine and we call it redox reaction. Let us start today. With me, you should note down today's topic 1.2.5. In textbook, it has been written oxidation and reduction reaction. This is the title they have given in textbook. We want to combine it, as I told you just now, OX and RED from here, and we can call it now a redox reaction. This is our today's topic. We are going to study today about redox reaction. My dear student, because redox reaction is ultimately a simultaneous occurrence of both the reaction oxidation and reduction. When it happens that both the reactions oxidation reaction and reduction reaction are taking place simultaneously, we can call it oxidation reaction. Before we discuss about redox reaction, the very first thing, let us try to understand individually oxidation reaction and reduction reaction separately. Let us try to study both the chemical reactions separately. First, we will discuss about oxidation, and then we will discuss about reduction. What is? Somewhere in primary you have understand what is the meaning of oxidation reaction. Let us try to define it. If you must be noting down. If we are trying to define oxidation reaction, if during any chemical reaction oxygen is added or hydrogen is removed from any substance, then it is called oxidation reaction. Became clear? What? If during any chemical reaction oxygen is added or hydrogen is removed from any substance, that is known as oxidation reaction. Just take an example, as there are so many reactions where oxidation and reduction can be studied. I will speak about them later on, but first now let us understand it by activity. Understood? They have given in textbook in the form of activity. What they have given, suppose you take some vessel, china dish, as they have mentioned in textbook. Take china dish, take some 1 or 2 gram of copper powder in it. Understood? Take a china dish, take 1 or 2 gram of copper powder in it and observe the color. Obviously, copper color, as you know, reddish brown in color. Now what happens? If you keep copper powder, which is reddish brown in color, exposed to air for some time, what you will see on the copper powder? Suppose china dish, I just want to mention here, we have taken copper powder here. Copper powder, as you know, we have taken it here. Copper powder, understood? And its initial color, as you all know, brown, reddish brown. Now what happens? When it is exposed to air for some period of time, you will see a black colored coating depositing on its surface. You will see a black colored coating depositing, black colored coating depositing on copper powder. Why it happens? This is what we have studied in activity, that we have taken copper powder in china dish and it is initially reddish brown in color, and when it is exposed to air, what happens? A black colored coating deposits on copper powder. Why this happened? In fact, let us try to understand it. We have taken copper powder initially. Now when it is exposed to air, oxygen present in air reacts with copper and forms copper oxide. Understood? Let us try to balance, because here are 2 oxygen atoms. I have to place 2 here and to balance 2 here also. Actually, what has happened, that black colored coating which you see on the copper powder is actually, it is of copper oxide. Understand, copper powder gets coated by a black colored coating, that is copper oxide. Understand, actually it is oxidation reaction, definitely, because as per the definition, when oxygen is added or hydrogen is removed, that is called oxidation. So here oxygen reacted with copper, that means indirectly oxygen is added to copper and formed copper oxide, so we may call it an oxidation reaction, definitely. Understand, so this is an example of oxidation reaction already. Can you recall that activity 1.1? Can you remember? When magnesium ribbon is burnt, it burns with dazzling flame and combines with oxygen and form magnesium oxide. So that reaction which we discussed in activity 1.1, that is also one type of oxidation reaction. Another one, when carbon, you can note down in your book, first reaction, this is already oxidation. Another I just spoke, 2Mg plus O2 gives 2MgO, oxidation reaction. Another one also you can mention, and we have already discussed, C plus O2 gives CO2, oxidation reaction. Wherever oxygen is added, that is oxidation reaction. Understood? One another example we have discussed, if you can remember, in electric decomposition reaction, where when electric current is passed through acidified water, it decomposes into hydrogen and oxygen gas. You know that 2H2O gives 2H2 plus O2. Now my dear student, just you think reverse of that. If you think that chemical reaction in reverse, that means if I speak like this, you can see that 2H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. What happened there? Oxygen is added in hydrogen and water is formed. So again there is addition of oxygen, so we may call it oxidation reaction. So many examples of oxidation reaction we discussed. Understood? Copper plus oxygen, copper oxide. Hydrogen plus oxygen, water, oxidation reaction. Magnesium plus oxygen, magnesium oxide, oxidation reaction. Carbon plus oxygen, carbon dioxide, oxidation reaction. Whenever oxygen is added to any substance, that is called oxidation reaction. So this is obviously an explanation of oxidation reaction. Now let us try to understand reduction reaction. Reduction reaction exactly opposite to oxidation reaction. What is reduction reaction? So quite simple, you can understand. Exactly opposite to oxidation. Oxidation ma how we defined it? Exactly opposite pole. If during any chemical reaction hydrogen is added or oxygen is removed, that is known as reduction reaction. Hydrogen added and oxygen is removed, that is known as reduction reaction. Let us try to understand here. One reaction I have written, this is an example of oxidation reaction. Suppose, now what happened? If I pass hydrogen gas over the same vessel, where there was initially here copper powder and black colored coating of copper oxide is there. Now, if this is black colored coating of copper oxide I am mentioning. Now, if hydrogen gas is passed over vessel consisting of copper powder and having a black layered copper oxide layer on it, so what happens? Black colored layer of copper oxide disappears, and again you will see brown colored copper powder. Actually, what might have taken place? Copper oxide plus hydrogen, actually oxygen is removed and it turns into copper plus H2O. Understood? So actually what happened here, you should try to understand here. Actually, oxygen is removed from copper oxide. Understand? So this is a best example of reduction reaction, because here in this reaction oxygen is removed from copper oxide. Understand? So actually what happened here? Okay, this is ultimately no doubt an example of reduction reaction. This was oxidation, this is reduction reaction. Understand? To illustrate some more example of reduction reaction, you can mention, if my dear student you can remember, definition clear? When hydrogen is added to any substance or oxygen is removed, that is reduction. Here no doubt oxygen is removed from copper oxide, but if you can remember that reaction, just to mention somewhere here, H2 hydrogen gas plus Cl2 chlorine gas forms, as you know, hydrogen chloride. Understand? Now what happens? May I call it reduction reaction? Definitely, because hydrogen is added to chlorine, and as per the definition of reduction reaction, both are reduction here. First one justifies the definition of reduction. Second one also justifies the same definition of reduction reaction. What is definition of reduction reaction? When oxygen is removed from any substance, that is called reduction, or hydrogen is added to any substance, that is called reduction reaction. Understand? So my dear student, make the definition clear, and here I have written two examples which already explains the meaning of reduction reaction. Now one more thing, can I call it, I'm just trying to explain you this, I'm just erasing this for time being, you must have noted down. Now my dear student, this reaction, can I call it redox reaction? I initially told you redox reaction means the simultaneous occurrence of oxidation and reduction reaction. So what happens? Can I call it a redox reaction? Yes, try to understand. I told you redox means simultaneous occurrence of two reactions. My dear student, just observe here. From copper oxide, oxygen is removed and it converted into copper. So I may call it reduction, definitely, because as per the definition of reduction reaction, when oxygen is removed, it is called reduction. At the same time, my dear student, try to understand, hydrogen converted into H2O by getting oxygen, so I can call it oxidation. So in this particular chemical reaction, two things occurred simultaneously. Oxidation also took place and reduction also took place. Copper oxide get reduced to copper. Hydrogen get oxidized to water, H2O. Understand? So one substance got reduced, one substance got oxidized. Because oxidation and reduction both are occurring simultaneously, we may call it redox reaction. Understand? My dear student, such question can be asked in exam. You will be given this. So, dear student, can you understand this is already a redox reaction? Because during this reaction, one substance is getting reduced and one substance is getting oxidized. Let us try to understand redox reaction in more detail by taking at least one or two examples. Actually, such example may be asked in exam also. Suppose I write one reaction here. Just try to understand whether it is redox reaction or not. Suppose zinc oxide ZnOS when react with carbon, actually coke, it forms zinc and carbon monoxide. Now, my dear student, can you call it a redox reaction? Yes, definitely. As per the definition of redox reaction, always one substance get oxidized and other substance get reduced. Here in this, just try to understand. You have already mentioned this equation in your book. ZnO plus C gives Zn plus Cu. If I ask you one question, in this particular chemical reaction, which substance is getting reduced and which substance is getting oxidized? So here zinc oxide is reduced to form zinc. So this is obviously reduction, because from zinc oxide oxygen is removed and it converted into zinc, and coke or carbon get oxidized to form carbon dioxide. So this is called oxidation. So my dear student, both chemical reaction, oxidation and reduction, are occurring simultaneously. So because both the reactions are taking place simultaneously, we may call it redox reaction. In exam, such reactions are given. Understand, and you are asked question, which substance is oxidized? The same question appeared in board exam 2020. This time, they have already given this chemical equation, and they have asked question, which substance is oxidized and which substance is reduced in this particular chemical reaction. So that is applied type of question, and my dear student, be ready to answer such question. Here zinc oxide is reduced to zinc by removal of oxygen. Carbon is getting oxidized to carbon monoxide by addition of oxygen. Understood? Can we also take one another example to understand redox reaction in more detail, so that in exam you will not feel deficit when you have to mention the example of redox reaction? Suppose I mention one another. MnO2, manganese dioxide. Just try to understand. When react with HCl, understood? I have written two reactants, manganese oxide and hydrochloric acid. When react with each other, they form product like, if you can remember, we have discussed, I think, somewhere in lecture 3 or 4, suppose, if you can remember, they react with each other and forms the product manganese chloride plus H2O plus Cl2. Before we discuss is it a redox reaction or not, let us try to balance it first. Cl2, 4 chlorine atom. To make 4 chlorine atom, let me place 4 here. But placing 4, it will unbalance the hydrogen. 4 hydrogen, let me write 2 here. So equation is now balanced chemical equation. Manganese, oxygen balanced, hydrogen balanced, chlorine balanced. Can I call it a redox reaction? Is it redox reaction? What is the definition of redox reaction? Simultaneous occurrence of both the chemical reaction, oxidation and reduction, that is redox reaction. Can you say, पहले आपने लिख लिया, you must have written this chemical equation already. After you write this chemical reaction, now what I am asking, can you say in this particular chemical reaction, which substance is getting reduced and which substance is getting oxidized? So my dear student, concentrate. Manganese oxide converts into manganese chloride, means oxygen is removed. So can I say that manganese oxide is reduced to manganese chloride? So this is reduction. So in this chemical reaction, manganese oxide is reduced to manganese chloride by removal of oxygen. So I can call it reduction reaction. In the same chemical reaction, is oxidation also taking place? Yes. Here, hydrochloric acid getting oxidized and converts into H2O as well as HCl, H2O and Cl2. This I may call it oxidation reaction. So we may call it, so here hydrochloric acid is oxidized to form H2O and Cl2. So reduction of manganese oxide to MnCl2 and HCl to H2O and Cl2. Both the chemical reaction are taking simultaneously, so we also can call it redox reaction. So my dear student, if in exam, today I will dictate in homework also, if you are asked define a redox reaction and explain it by three illustrations. Other illustration you can find it yourself. In homework I am going to give, but three reactions so definitely we discuss. One, that of copper oxide plus hydrogen give copper plus water. Another one, zinc oxide plus carbon gives zinc plus CO. Another, MnO2 plus 4HCl give MnCl2 plus 2H2O plus Cl2. All three equations I have written here are ultimately example of redox reaction. You understood this? Okay. So I suppose the topic of redox reaction has been clear in your mind. Understand, you must have written both the chemical equation here and you have noticed in your book. Understand, also try to write some such chemical reaction by yourself and try to understand which substance is getting oxidized, which substance is getting reduced, so we may call it redox reaction. Okay, now last topic of this chapter today, the last topic we are taking now. Understood, redox reaction topic is over and I think you might have understood it in detail also. Now the last topic which we are taking today in our lecture is effect of, that's the topic. Understand, effect of redox reaction, effect of redox reactions in daily life. What is the effect of redox reaction in daily life? This is the topic. Redox reaction we all know, simultaneous occurrence of oxidation and reduction. What is the effect of these redox reactions in daily life? Here actually in textbook they have discussed two topics in detail. One topic which I think somewhere we have studied and you all know, that is they have discussed about corrosion, and another topic they have discussed in textbook, that is about rancidity. Both the topic ultimately does just a simple explanation. Understand what is corrosion actually. So you all know one thing, mostly corrosion word, rusting of iron, that's the word immediately highlights in our mind whenever we discuss about corrosion. But dear student, mind it, corrosion can take place of any metal, not only iron. Corrosion may take place in silver also, may take place in copper also. When copper is exposed, copper vessels are exposed to air for some period of time, understand, a green colored layer deposits on it, that is called corrosion, that occurs due to oxidation of copper take place. At the same time, actually copper vessel, just now though we do not have copper vessels in our home, but ultimately when copper vessels are exposed to air, understand what happens, you will see a green black, slightly green black color coating depositing on the copper vessel, so that is rusting of copper. Understand, silver, if you keep silver exposed to air, understand, even silver ornament, with the passage of time what happens, they turn, understand, little dull, means a black layered silver oxide layer deposits on it, so that is also rusting. Iron, when you bring iron articles at your home, the iron articles are quite shining, but with the passage of time, when they are exposed to the moist air, what happens, a brown colored, a thick little black brown colored layer of iron oxide deposits on it, so that is called rusting of iron. Can I relate it with this redox reaction? Yes, I can relate. Okay, when iron is exposed to air, what happens? a layer of iron oxide deposits on the surface of iron. So that is oxidation reaction and it is related with the life. Understand? So rusting of iron, how to prevent, that we all know. We have somewhere discussed in previous standard also. Understand? And in exercise also there is one question. Why iron articles are painted? Understand? You all know, understand, that if you want to stop iron from rusting, you need to do like you have to cut it contact with air, and for that purpose you apply layer of such metallic paint, such metals on iron article which are more reactive than iron and will not allow iron to react with the atmospheric oxygen. Galvanized iron, you all know, where we apply the layer of zinc on iron, because zinc is more reactive than iron, it will not allow iron to come in contact with the moist air and the rusting of iron can be prevented. There are so many other measures also to alleviate, understand, means to prevent the corrosion of iron, understand. But just now the topic is simply how you can relate corrosion with oxidation, understand. So it is clear. So corrosion, rancidity. Rancidity means what? My dear student, this topic may they ask in board exam or in our test as a short note also. What is actually the meaning of rancidity? So you all know some food item, तो generally any food items, कोई पण वस्तु, when we bring at home, we always indulge in the practice of keeping them in airtight container so that they will not get oxidized. Means we are trying by keeping those food items, whatever articles we bring from market, we keep them in airtight container. That means we are trying to slow down the oxidation process, because when any food item is exposed to air, they get oxidized and turns rancid. Rancid means the original taste and flavor both changes. Understand? Mostly any oil or fat containing items, understand, when you bring at home, understand, many you can mention, understand, ઘણી બધી items છે containing oil and fat, understand, when you bring at home, understood, even at home you have prepared some food items consisting of oil and fat, understand, what happens if you keep them exposed to air? Those food items get oxidized and their flavor and taste both changes. So that is called rancid food item. And flavor and taste both are changing. Have you experienced this? Yes, potato. Suppose you bring potato at home, you cut it and keep it open for some time. The cut part turns little blackish in color, that is oxidized, that it become rancid. Even any just take an example, apple, you cut it, keep it open, understand, the cut part when exposed to air it turns blackish, understand, that is also it got oxidized. Market में कोई पण item, any item you bring, understand, ઘરે even at home or from market, માનો કે ફાફડા ગાંઠિયા આ બધું લઈ આવો તમે, and if you initially the taste is superb and you like to eat, understand, but if you keep exposed to air for some period of time, what happens, you will not like to even take its taste or flavor, because they turn rancid because they get oxidized, understand. So rancidity is also one of the major problem, understand, and we relate it to the redox reaction, means oxidation reaction ultimately. Many food items, those fried items, take an example, cheap wafers, all items, understand, which are in packed pouches. What happens? Before those items are stored in that, ये आइटम उसमें स्टोर करे उससे पहले those bags, understand, are flushed with nitrogen, because nitrogen is one of the antioxidant, understand. And what nitrogen does, because it is antioxidant, and when such pouches, understand, means container are flushed with nitrogen, it will not allow the oxidation to take place. Understood, my dear student? So rancidity is again another topic. So how effect of redox reaction in daily life, the one is corrosion and one is rancidity. Both can be asked in the form of short note. Okay, my dear students, so with this, your chapter number 1 is getting completed today, right? And before we leave today's homework, because we completed, let me summarize the topic before we end this lecture. Which topic we discussed today? We discussed about redox reaction. We also separately discussed about oxidation and reduction. Okay? Then we discussed about redox reaction. Then we discussed about effect of redox reaction in daily life. That is, we discussed corrosion and rancidity. And you all know, my dear student, even rancidity and corrosion is a very serious problem, because at so many places iron is utilized, understand, to create some huge framework of bridge, understand. Many machineries are made up of iron, understand. So rusting of iron always result in a huge economic loss annually to each and every country, understand. So this is effect of redox reaction, means oxidation reaction, that is corrosion and rancidity we discussed today. So before, my dear student, we end today's lecture, I think you must have got complete idea in redox reaction and effect of redox reaction in daily life, corrosion and rancidity. Okay, now before I leave today's homework, please be ready for today's homework. Okay, so question, should I dictate now? Let me dictate. Question number 1. What is oxidation reaction? Note down, my student. What is oxidation reaction? Question mark. Explain with proper example. Second question. What is reduction reaction? Explain by proper example. Question number 2. Question number 3. What is redox reaction? Explain by suitable examples. Means you have to write 3 chemical equations we discussed, one of copper oxide, one of zinc oxide, one of manganese oxide. All you have to mention, understand, right, when you complete this answer of redox reaction. This is question number 3. Question number 4. Here, very carefully when I dictate the question. Question number 4. What you have to do in question number 4? We discussed 3 chemical reaction as a redox reaction. You noted down in your book. What you have to do? In question number 4, you have to write each and every question. Each and every reaction. After writing the complete reaction, you have to answer two questions in every reaction. First question, which substance is oxidized in above reaction? Second, which substance is reduced in above reaction? તો ક્વેશ્ચન 4 એમાં આવા કેટલા ક્વેશ્ચન થશે? 3. First, you will take example of copper oxide plus H2. Then you will answer two questions. Then you will take example of zinc oxide plus carbon. You will answer two questions. Then you will take example of manganese oxide plus 2HCl and you will answer two questions. So this is question number 4. Question 4 માઇન્ડમાં ઉતરી ગયો? નો ફોન ટુ મી. બરાબર સમજી લેવાનું. You have to understand quite clearly. Question 4 માં 3 questions. Write reaction and answer which substance is oxidized and which substance is getting reduced. Your question number 4. Question 5. Write a short note on corrosion. Question number 5. Question number 6. Write short note on rancidity. Question 6 over. Question number 7. આમ તો આના અંડરમાં જ આવે છે પણ still it is given in exercise, so write separately. While containers containing fat or oil containing substance are flushed with nitrogen. Should I repeat? Containing જગ્યાએ ગમે તે word આવે. Why container having fat or oil containing substances are flushed with nitrogen? You know the answer. Nitrogen is antioxidant and it will not allow oxidation to take place. Understand? So that's your question number 7. And last question number 8, my dear student. Last question, બરાબર લખજો. And try to answer it. It is also given in textual exercise. Should I speak now? An element X, X inverted comma, an element X turns blackish when exposed to air. Should I speak again? An element X turns blackish when exposed to air. Name the element X and name the black colored coating depositing on that element. You understood the question? Name the element X and also name the black colored coating depositing on it. So today's question number 8. So chapter over. You must have noted down the homework. And one last thing, you must have heard my voice message also. And another, do your homework utilizing less pages in perfect full-scape pages, point-wise, neat and clean writing. I am speaking again, neat and clean writing, and submit to associate as quickly as possible so that they will get enough time to verify your homework properly. Okay? Thank you very much, my dear student from Bharat sir.